We need to have a talk, Missy.
No.
Yes.
No talking, just walking. We're walking here.
I'm kind of warmed up.
Whew, me too.
Let's talk about this guy, Harvey Wallbanger. What's his name?
Weinstein.
Weinstein. I'm just kidding.
Wallbanger.
So there's he's kind of like these other guys, like Bill Cosby, Anthony Weiner. Just
they think they got away with it and then busted.
Degenerate,
down the road.
kind of degenerates. But I'm not here to judge them. I just want to talk about this. But what we have to take into consideration is they're very different things. A lot of these charges are very different. So you got to kind of sort them out and get to the bottom of all this. And one thing comes clear: nobody had no political party or geographic location has a patent on degeneracy, right?
Yeah.
Washington is full of degenerates. Hollywood is full of degenerates.
I mean,
both sides of the
it's all perception anyway.
political spectrum, and it's all perception. But here's where you come down to the brass tacks. With Weinstein, you gotta discover whether there's something illegal going on.
Yeah.
And I know you don't know much about this Weinstein thing,
Yeah.
but as soon these people are kind of spineless, they don't come forward. You know, like Gwyneth Paltrow has come forward now, and she says she was a tender young girl when this happened. Well, she was 22 years old. And she had an encounter with Weinstein where he was making advances. And she had been hired for a movie already. She was already cast in the movie, and he had her out to his beach place or whatever. And
Yeah.
he was hitting on her pretty heavy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see... So, you know, they come out, her and Roseanne Arquette and Angelina Jolie. And I think Paltrow is quoted as saying, this treatment of women has to end here.
But
Like-
I mean, it's a guy trying to get laid.
It's a guy trying to get laid,
So,
precisely.
I mean, I don't know that much about it, but
So now, even with his case, we have to separate out the charges. Now there are rape charges. I don't know, and I really don't know about that, and I don't know what will surface. But most of the allegations are regarding what I would call human discourse and like sexual negotiation, or just negotiation. So you got a very rich, powerful man.
so you can't really legislate that.
You can't legislate that, and I think that's where Hollywood always wants to go. They want to create laws, more laws,
Yeah.
more things to be charged
yeah,
for.
you can't legislate bad behavior.
Like in California, they've actually slipped a law into the books that says if you use the wrong pronouns towards transgender people in, I think, nursing home environments, elder care environments, you can be charged with a crime.
What?
Yeah, you can't. You're not allowed. If they decide,
What if you don't know?
if you got some old person that's not sound of mind and they decide, you know, Dick decides he wants to be Jane. Blue Angels. Well, that's one thing, but that's a different discussion. But that shouldn't be. That's just to say that I don't think things like that should be criminal unless you're bullying and abusing someone. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's for another discussion. But yeah, I don't think if these women are trying to get to a point where we start creating laws. No. So what do you have?
Well, I mean,
Okay. Jen.
how would that law read?
Yeah. So it's a negotiation. When I was a young man, for example, I didn't have the bargaining chips to get laid like Weinstein did, right? Let me be frank.
Yes, you did.
I did have some. I was good looking and I had a good heart. I was a good person, and I kept myself up, dressed nicely. But aside from that, I didn't have what a lot of girls were looking for. a lot of these hot women, they also had their chips, and they were looking for a bargain. They were looking for money. They were looking for access.
They were looking for the whole package.
They were looking for the whole package. And it's very hard to find the whole package. So what they ended up with was men who would negotiate with them and say, I've got this, and I would like that.
Yeah.
And they would say, well, let's do the dance and see how it shakes down. And sometimes, you know, I would see these guys. They had what these women wanted, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I didn't. So I kind of have.
You're just jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I was very jealous. But that's just kind of the way. And this is in defense of Weinstein. Actually, the guy had power, right? He had things that women wanted, and so they would negotiate with him. And now, suddenly, they're very disgusted about having had to negotiate. That's a problem. If I held before you a carrot, let's break it down simplistically. I know a lot of people get mad when I simplify things, but that's the best way to start examining a topic.
An analogy.
You take, okay, so I said to you, a lady, I've got this nice carrot. Would you like it?
I want the carrot.
You want the carrot? Give me a kiss. Will you give me a kiss?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's your carrot.
Thanks.
That's a negotiation, right? Now you can just step that up. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no harm in that. If I was talking to a 5-year-old.
I mean, it's better if two people just want to have sex
Okay,
with
but
each other.
Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes there's a negotiation.
Yeah.
So it comes down to a man or two people. One person has some cash. Say a man has got some influence, and he says, I've got this to offer, and I want those things that you have.
Or it's a woman that has cash. And she wants
Exactly. It works. It cuts both ways. Sure. So you could just step that up and say, okay, so now I have a gold carrot made out of solid gold. Would you like this carrot?
Yeah.
Yes, you would. Of course you would.
Just kidding.
And it's the same with a movie part.
Doesn't mean I'd give you a kiss for it.
It plays all the way up through the ranks, through the scale, and you know it becomes, you know, that guy was, I'm sure many years ago, all he had to offer was steak dinners and rides in his BMW and, you know, trips to Europe. That sounds pretty good to me, actually. But now, you know, past 20, 30 years, he's had movie parts.
Yeah.
He's had a lot to offer, and it's, again, a negotiation.
Yeah.
And I think where it's two legal consenting adults and some guy's running around in his apartment with his pants off begging you, if you can make your exit,
do it.
Do it. If you can't make your exit and something happens
Hit
forcibly,
911.
if something happens forcibly, that's a completely different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
But this whole persuasion, you know,
Yeah.
adults try to persuade each other in negotiations. And
Yeah.
I hate to sound despicable myself, making excuses for somebody like that, but just this whole conversation that Hollywood is having now about this treatment toward women has to end now. Well, what about the treatment of women toward men? Rich women, you know, get American Gigolo kind of stuff. When does that have to end? Never? That ends never. That can keep going.
You don't hear about that.
You don't hear about
plus,
it.
Plus, women don't, like, tackle men.
Yes, they do.
Chase them, run, and tackle
Yes, they
them.
do. I've been harassed by women. Yes, they do. They do very much so. Especially women with huge influence and money.
Yeah.
When they want a young guy and they're, you know, 75, 80, and they want a young 30-year-old man, and they're gonna have to use their influence, they're gonna do it just like Harvey Weinstein did, and there's no crime in that. It's just, it's sometimes despicable and unattractive and not fun to talk about, but it is what it is, as they say.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's what we always talk about. Everybody's trying to legislate everything away. You can't erase guns
Yeah.
from society. You can't legislate hateful people who want to cause harm away by
Yeah.
taking our tools away, what's next? Do we take our cars away?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So those are my thoughts on Harvey Weinstein.
Well, banger.
Okay, so what do we got? Harvey. We talked about Bill Cosby a little bit and Anthony Weiner, and then there's a whole host of conservatives that are like that. They're just a bunch of guys that have a lot of power that are like that. So that's what it is. You can't change it. We have to evolve as people. So, you have anything else to say about that?
I got nothing.
I'm hot.
Me too. You are hot.
Yes, you are. All right.
Have a great day.
Thanks for watching my diatribe. Tell us what you think about it.